order the City of Natchitoches Planning and Zoning Commission comments. The next city council meeting will be January the 10th, 2022 at this location, 5 o'clock, is that right?
That's correct.
5 o'clock. Applications for rezoning will be introduced at that time. Final voting on applications for rezoning will be on January the 24th, 2022. All interested parties are encouraged to attend both the introduction meeting on the 10th and the final voting on January the 24th. The reason for that is that technically on the 10th, it's introduced only under the ordinance, but sometimes some people show up at that and say they can't be at here for the 24th meeting, so I would suggest that the proponents show up for no other reason than to address any issues that, while out of order, might be taken up on the 10th of January. For variances or waivers or re-subdivisions, they must be appealed. If you are aggrieved by the decision by our commission, they must be filed in writing 10 days from today's date with the secretary. Is that the secretary or the clerk?
The clerk.
The clerk, Stacy McQuarrie, the clerk of the city of Natchitoches, within 10 days. Then they must, by statute or by ordinance, be docketed within 45 days of that. There's no automatic docketing as they are with rezoning requests. I would ask everybody that if they didn't sign in, to please sign in. When you come up, would you please come up to the AMBO or the podium and identify yourselves, tell us where you live. Please speak into the mic. We would ask anybody that's participating by Zoom to mute their mics. Our next meeting is February the 1st, 2022, right here at 5 o'clock. The procedure we'll follow is that what we'll do on each application, we'll get a small summary from the Planning and Zoning Director. Then the applicant or his designee will come forward to describe anything they plan on doing, expanding on what the director had to say. Then we'll hear for people in favor of the application. And then after that, we will hear from folks in opposition to the application. And if there's any opposition, we will hear from the applicant or his designee a small rebuttal limited only to issues raised in the oppositions. Then what will happen is that the Planning and Zoning Commission will go into public session to discuss, and at that point in time, input by the applicant or opponents is terminated unless the commission has a particular question. Did I miss anything, Ms. Rock?
No, sir, you haven't.
Ms. Oakes, will you call the roll?
Jamie Flanagan.
Here.
Bobby Claiborne.
Here.
Ricky McAllister. Ron Brown.
Here.
Ethel Blake.
Here.
Michael Lewis.
Here.
Anita DuBois.
Here.
Isaac Lewis.
Here.
Charlie Wayne.
Here. By my count, that's a quorum.
That's a quorum.
Ladies concur?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Oakes, you concur?
Yes.
All right. Roman numeral 3, approval of the minutes of December 7th. I guess we have no minutes from that, or do we?
Not for,
I do, it's just not. Commissioners have been provided copies of the proposed minutes from our prior meeting. If there are any corrections, deletions, or otherwise substitutions, I would entertain a motion of that. If not, I would entertain a motion to waive their formal reading and accept them as proposed.
I so move.
Motion by Mr. Claiborne, second by Ms. DuBois. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Ms. Oakes, you know the drill. Catch me before I get out of here. Recordings for all city meetings are now posted on the city's website. To watch the video, the user can subscribe to the city's YouTube channel at City of Natchitoches, LA, or visit the city website link at www.natchitochesla.gov/content/meetings-videos. Roman numeral 4, old business. No old business, Ms. Rock?
No, sir.
All right. Roman numeral 5, new business. The application by Mr. Dan Cook to rezone the following lots 2 and 3 of Block M of the Sibley and Pearson addition of the city of Natchitoches from R1 family residential to R1 additional special exception zoning. The reason to operate a vacation rental bearing municipal addresses of 125 North Street and 821 West Street, Exhibit Number 1 in Commissioner's Packet, Councilperson District Number 3. Would Mr. Cook or his designee come forward?
Charlotte,
Short summary by the director, I'm sorry.
that's okay. Just to give you a bit of information, this is already a duplex rental, right, Mr. Cook? It is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's already zoned for R1, but the special exception is just for the vacation rental only. It's a little bit different from a traditional B&B. We're doing a little bit more investigation on how that would be different from a VRBO or a vacation rental, but if you have anything that you want to express or to let us know about a vacation rental, that would actually help us out a bit. But this is we're asking for a special exception to operate as a vacation home and not just as a duplex.
All right, and is the parking sufficient?
The parking is sufficient.
All right. Mr. Cook, you heard the summary by the director. Please tell us what additional information we need to consider your application.
I think Ms. Rock said it perfectly. We're one block from the university. That would be the library. And it's convenient for parents. It's convenient for our visitors from around the world. It's created jobs, people who clean the place, who host the place. It is a neighborhood that any improvement is greatly appreciated by the neighbors, and I appreciate your consideration.
And this property is sort of catty corner behind the Chick-fil-A, Pat's Economy, whatever you want to call it, plaza.
Pizza Hut's coming, and
That's what we hear, and so,
yeah.
all right. Do any questions for Mr. Cook by commission members?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So are both sides going to be used? Are both sides going to be used for vacation rentals or just one side of the duplex?
One side at the moment.
So there's current residents in the other side?
That is correct.
Okay.
College students.
All right. Mr. Cook, if you'll just hang tight, is there anyone here to speak in behalf of the application of Cook? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application of Cook? Hearing none, Mr. Cook, there's no rebuttal you need to do, so if you wouldn't mind having a seat.
Yes, sir.
We'll turn it over to discussion by commission members.
And my condolence upon your father's passing.
Well, I appreciate
Yes,
that. I wouldn't cheat him out of one more day, Mr. Cook, but I wouldn't have him back the way he was the last month. And actually, that was why I was late. I had a phone call. I thought I'd wound everything up by the end of the year, and there's always one more thing to tend to. Thank you, sir. Discussion by commission members.
Yeah, I got a question here. If you decide to shut this down at some point in time, does it state that, if it's approved tonight, does it state R1 with the special exception, or does it go back just straight to R1?
Well, right now, it's already a duplex, so they're already operating as a rental. The special exception is just to make it formal for the vacation rental itself. I think with a vacation rental, there's a time limit on how long a person is actually there versus an actual duplex, whereas they usually set a term from month to month. A vacation rental is just as it says, just a specific period of time, and that's it.
And Mr. Lewis, I think it's zoned to R1, correct?
It
Is
is
that correct?
R1.
And so it's an R2 use that's non-conforming. So it will revert back to zoning
Okay.
For 6 months of R1, but what's technically an R2 will still continue because it's a non-conforming use.
Okay,
Does that answer your question?
gotcha, yep.
Any other questions or comments by commission members?
I move we approve.
Motion by Du Bois to approve, second by Claiborne. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, that is a rezone, so you heard my comments about, you really should be here on the 10th. They shouldn't take it up, they shouldn't talk about it. But if somebody says they've got to be in Houston to check on their grandbabies on the 24th, they may want to talk. I encourage people to be here to counter that. But if nobody shows up to talk, you just need to let it be introduced and go about your business.
Mr. White, you're talking about the city council meeting?
That's correct. That's correct. Like I say, it's supposed to be for introduction only, and I've never known the city council where somebody's shown up and says, I can't be here, in your case, on the 24th. I've got to be in Houston, I've got to be in Detroit, I've got to be in Miami to check on some family, and I just want to come make my objection. And so I've always encouraged people to show up because the city council always bends over backwards to take care of those. But if nobody shows up to talk about it, I wouldn't, of course, you need to have your own counsel for that. But, you know, I would say, I would not say anything because technically it's not open for discussion. But it's always you know, once a year somebody shows up and I've got to be somewhere else 2 weeks from now and I'd like to voice my objection. And so I just recommend that people show up, but so that you can at least address those issues if they show up in that limited situation. Thank you, sir. Roman numeral B, the application by Ms. Shalonda Calvin to rezone the following, being the Exchange Bank branch building lying in the northwest corner of Lot 23 of West Broadmoor subdivision from B1 commercial to B1 with additional BA zoning. The reason for is consumption of high and low alcohol content on the premises. The Broadmoor Shopping Center, 203 Kaiser Avenue, Exhibit Number 2, Councilperson District Number 2, in the Commissioner's Packet, Exhibit 2. Would Ms. Calvin or her designee come forward? Ms. Rock, do you have a summary of what's going to happen here? And please give us a little background because this is a multi-use property.
Right, so this is a shopping center where Piggly Wiggly is. You have the ShopRite, but this specific location is on the corner of Williams and Kaiser. It used to be the, what is that, the Centritel?
Centennial
Wireless, that's what it
correct.
was, and it was
then
Exchange
some
Bank.
kind of protein powder place that didn't take
Right.
off.
And it was Exchange Bank as the passage states here. So what's here is actually a restaurant that's called Winged It. They're a little start-off company, and they're wanting to just sell daiquiris, maybe a little beer, a little wine, or something like that on premise as they're having their sit-down restaurant. But because of this particular location, a lot of people that rent that area feel just because the Piggly Wiggly, the gas station, and some of the other surrounding areas have BA zoning, that they automatically had it, but that's not the case. Each individual shop or structure or business has to apply for their own individual BA zoning. So we talked to Ms. Shalonda and we explained to her that in order to get the BA zoning, she needed to make application.
All right, is Ms. Calvin or her designee present?
Unfortunately, she's not.
Ms. Rock, would you like to table this for a moment or defer it to the end of the docket so that?
Let's table it for a
I imagine
moment.
that that's where Ms.
Nicole.
Oaks went. So with the consent of the commission, we'll just skip over this one and come back to it at the end. Is any objection to that? All right. We'll move on to Roman numeral 5, subsection C, the application by Natchitoches Regional Medical Center, Mr. Kirk Swallow, to rezone the following lot on the southeast corner of Isidore and Kaiser Avenue, shown as Lot A on map book 1, page 587, less 0.098 acres to the Highway Department from B2 commercial to B3 commercial The reason is to operate a 24-hour drive-through pharmacy bearing municipal address of 601 Kaiser Avenue, Exhibit Number 3 in Commissioner's Packet, Councilperson District Number 2. A short summary by the Director.
All right, so this is also, well, at first I wanted to say it was where the new multi-clinic is that correct? It is
Multi-specialty.
Multi-specialty clinic.
The old K&B
Right.
building.
The old K&B building. So at this specific location, they want to operate the 24-hour facility, but they're requesting B3. The surrounding areas with this location, though, have B2.
Well, let me
But-
interrupt you. I could tell you that during the massive rezoning after Kaiser Avenue was done, we essentially went B2 on everything to the south and B3 on everything to the north of Kaiser Avenue. We had an issue with that. Those of you were on here with Sheffield, who built that building between the United States Postal Service and Sabine Bank. He wanted to put a 3-story building. He never came and saw Ms. Rock's predecessor. And it was clearly zoned B2, which was it's no relevance to Mr. Swallow, but it was a height limitation, and he was just shocked that he couldn't do that. And so, you know, he made a comment to me, "I can't believe you know the zoning of everything in Natchitoches." And I said, "No, I don't know the zoning of everything in Natchitoches, but I know the zoning of everything from the hospital to the city limits because we did a massive rezoning on that."
Correct.
And so that's how it's laid out, and that's what the zoning is on a north and south line of demarcation using Kaiser Avenue. And that was a conscious decision we made over 2 or 3 meetings, and that's just some background for you all to know. I'm sorry, Ms. Rock, did you need anything else, or did I?
No, that was it. The only other thing that we're going to talk about was, because we did that comprehensive rezone, to allow them to operate as a 24-hour pharmacy, it would be recommended that they are given a special exception for the 24 hours, just for the pharmacy itself, instead of rezoning the whole parcel of land.
Well, not that somebody's gonna come get a 3 a.m. MRI, but I understand, as Mr. Claiborne points out quite often, is that if we rezone it all, they could put a house of ill repute or something like that, that we don't want there with a B3.
Correct.
All right, Mr. Swallow, you heard the summary by the Director. Do you have any comments or anything else we need to know to consider the application?
No, sir, this is an opportunity for us. We open our retail pharmacy in about 3 weeks. It's an opportunity for us to be able to have the capability to expand hours as the demand is needed. There is no 24-hour pharmacy between Lafayette and Shreveport. And as the demand rises, we would like to continue to expand our hours to meet the needs of the community. So that's really the rationale to do that ahead of time before we start hiring personnel to expand those hours, and then we wouldn't get approval from the Planning and Zoning Committee.
Well, I'm particularly sensitive to that on 2 areas. Number one, my daughter is a pharmacist, although she's in Charleston, South Carolina, and I don't think she'll ever move back here, but I'm particularly sensitive to that. And I picked up my brother at 4:30 yesterday morning at your facility, and he was having to wait until M&M opened up at 8:30 or 9 o'clock to get his prescription that he needed. So I'm particularly sensitive to that.
Yeah, well, one of the things I just wanted to mention, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
One of the things in consideration of what you just mentioned, what we're going to be doing with this retail pharmacy is what we call our Med-to-Beds program. So when a patient's ready to be discharged, the physician can write electronic orders, and those medicines will be delivered to the bedside. So before the patient even goes home. It's an incredibly valuable service, in particular when 60% of our inpatient admissions come from outside of the city limits.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions for Mr. Swallow from commission members?
So when a patient is admitted to the emergency room, for example, that admission carries through over to pharmacy. They're already admitted, so to speak, in pharmacy, or?
Well, as long as the pharmacy hours are open, the physician and the ER can send an electronic prescription over, and we would instruct them to go to the drive-thru. because the only thing that would be open is really the drive-through side of the building. That's it.
So Kirk, what you're saying is, like my brother got discharged at 4:15, 4:30 yesterday morning from your place, and I think he had something innocuous like Zithromax or something like that. I could have, instead of bringing him home and waiting for M&M to bring it to him at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning, I could have left, picking him up out of the ER, driven through this deal, picked his stuff up, and he could have started his therapeutic regime 4 hours, 5 hours early.
Absolutely. That's the intent. Also, because of our clinic network, we've seen, we've had a significant amount of growth over the last 7 or 8 years. So the first half of this fiscal year, which began July 1 through December 31st, we have treated over 105,000 patients through our clinic network. So this allows patients to choose this pharmacy to be able to, when they're leaving their clinic, to have that prescription sent over electronically, and they just come through our drive-through.
Well, I mean, I can tell you, my preferred pharmacy is Cade's, so if I got treated at 6 o'clock on Friday, it would be Monday before I could get my prescription.
Right.
It's not that I would prefer your pharmacy, but I would like to get my therapeutic regime started 2.5 days early.
Yeah.
All right, are there any questions for Mr. Swallow from commission members?
24 hours, will this be open on weekends also?
Yes, sir, 7 days a week.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to a little, we've gotta do a little housekeeping here in a second. Is there anybody else to speak on behalf of the application of Swallow? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the application of Swallow? Hearing none, we'll move on to the public discussion by members. Mr. Swallow, we'll take care of this, but I'd like to visit, if you could wait till the end of the meeting, I've got some other things I'd like to talk to you about informally, if you don't mind. Sure. All right, so what we've got is the old K&B building that wants to be rezoned to B3 for 24-hour operations. I'll just call it the Claiborne objection. We need to probably limit that to operation of a retail drive-through pharmacy. So in the event that for some reason our hospital gets bought out by somebody else, that this is not a B3 application. Do I understand the concerns of Reverend Claiborne and the director?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I guess what we need to talk about is, A, are we willing to do it? And B, do we want to modify it to where it's only a pharmacy type operation?
Yes, for the form.
I move that we modify it.
All right, so let's take this in the form of a motion by Du Bois to modify the application from a B3 to a B2 special exception for the operation of a retail pharmacy. And I think we should include drive-through and walk-in just to accommodate Mr. Swallow and the NRMC. Is that acceptable for a motion? Is that
Yes.
acceptable for a motion for you, to modify your motion,
Yes,
Mr. Du Bois?
yes.
Can I have a second to Du Bois?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lewis. Mr. Swallow, I assume you have no objection to this modification to your application? No, please let the record reflect Mr. Swallow has no objection. So, all in favor of the amended application, to amend the application, then we'll vote on the amended application. All in favor of amending the application, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. So now we have an application by the NRMC to operate a B2 special exception for a walk-in, drive-in pharmacy at the old K&B site. Do I have a motion to approve this amended application?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Lewis.
I second.
Second by other Mr. Lewis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. So your application is approved, Mrs. Swallow. Please have somebody here on January the 10th, just in case, as I told Mr. Cook, just in case somebody is not going to be here on the 24th. I would not talk if nobody wants to talk about it, but I just would be remiss in not telling you that the city council usually errs on the side of listening to folks. All right? Roman numeral D, the application by Mr. Clint Payroll III to subdivide the following lot containing 1.02 acres located on the west side of Williams Avenue, situated Section 59, Township 9 North, Range 7 West, Natchitoches Parish, as shown on a plat of survey recorded at 588, folio 568. Actual survey is on page 71. The reason is to sell a residential lot which would bear the municipal address of 208 Williams Avenue. Exhibit number 4 in the Commissioner's packet, a councilperson district number 1, a short summary by the director.
So this is property owned by Mr. Felix. It's the Edward Jones property, right down the corner of Kaiser and Williams. What he's proposing to do is to subdivide this property equally into 2 halves. Each half will be 4.95 acres, just so he can sell off that portion closest to the bridge for residential development. And that's it.
All right. Mr. Payroll, you've heard the summary by the director. Is there anything you need to add to that for us to consider your application?
Nope, that's pretty much it. That's the boring part of it. Just split it right in half on the, what you see there in front of you, just be split in half.
And you know this property will be subject to the Historic Commission's vagaries of what's appropriate.
Right.
I would never bet on what they'd approve. I'd always bet against. Fair enough. Is there any questions for Mr. Payroll by commission members?
So this will be right by the bridge?
Yes, sir. My office is right there, and there's a small house that was there that was a residence that was almost condemned by the city, and we brought it back. But the other half of the lot, the house sits on the one far side, and I have another half of the lot that could be split the same size as the neighbors that live beside me, their lot. So I wanted to take advantage of that and maybe be able to put something or sell it. So it would be split, and it'd actually be a little bit bigger than my neighbor's lot.
And when you talk about your neighbors, you're talking about John and Brett itself?
Yes.
And Ms. Rock, I was remiss in not asking, this will be, the two resulting lots will be compliant,
They will be compliant.
and Mr. Payroll's lot will have sufficient parking.
He will.
All right.
What is the, I see the length of the property from the street to the river is 323.9 feet, is that correct?
I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure I was on the right page here. What is the width of the property?
The width is 134 feet approximately on the lake side. And a little bit more on the front, like,
So it'd be 67 essentially, we split it halfway.
Right.
Scooter? Mm-hmm. And the self lot is 60 feet. And it looks like the tier property next to self is 67 or 62 feet, I can't tell, it looks like it kind of got cut off.
I see on the back, it looks about, it says 60. I'm not sure what theirs is exactly.
Okay, looking at these other pictures, it's not gonna come that close to the bridge.
No, it'll be, there's a pretty wide easement.
There's a
there
state
for the
right away.
state.
Okay.
And you have talked to DOTD about,
I talked to the DOTD initially when we started this process about, they had a question if I was going to change it to kind of like my office right now, being residential with a special exception, if it would cause a traffic problem coming in and out that close to the light. But that's not what I'm doing. It's going to be a residential lot, no special exception. It's going to be for an ultimate residence. And if you look on that map, there's an asphalt entranceway right there. And so the entrance and exit is already there.
Well, it's already a curb cut? Mm-hmm. Because, it doesn't matter what we tell you can do, if DOTD says it's not appropriate curb cut,
Yeah,
we got no control over that.
gotcha.
And you don't, until you have it in writing from them, it doesn't matter what they tell you on the telephone.
Okay.
Or on the ground when you're putting stuff out. Because we've experienced that, where they come out and this is all good and comes time to get it developed in the home. No.
Well, there's nothing, there's not a curb there.
Okay, fair enough. Any more questions for Mr. Payroll from commission members? Any opposition to the application of payroll? Hearing none, what's the commission's discussion by commission members?
I move we approve.
I second it.
Motion by DuBois, second by Flanagan. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
That's, you are subject to the 10-day rule. So, get your final plat to Ms. Rock. Y'all still do your Tuesday meetings with the mayor?
We do.
I would suggest you get it to there by Tuesday because she can get all the signatures but mine and yours next Tuesday. She'll hold it until the 10 days are final. She'll call you when it's fully signed or when it only lacks your signature. You'll have to take it to Mr. Stamey's office, record it, and get her a certified copy of it for our records. All right? Fair enough. Roman numeral E, or rather alphabetic E, Roman numeral 5, E, the application by Mr. Brian Benefield Sr. to subdivide the following 2.6 acres being tracts A and C of the subdivision of Lot 5 of the St. Maurice Plantation, north by St. Maurice Lane, east by Dowley, south by Bayou, west by Boydston, is shown on a map slide by 539B of the records of Natchitoches Parish, Louisiana, less a lot to Leach, less lot B containing 0.282 acres to Daniel F. Montgomery and wife, shown as a subdivision of Tract A of a portion of Lot 5 of St. Maurice Plantation, is shown by a survey by Mr. Robert Lynn Davis, dated January 21, 2021. The reason is to divide a tract into two separate lots, bearing municipal address 719 St. Maurice Lane, exhibit number 5 in the Commissioner's packet, Councilperson District number 1. Is anybody here to speak on the application of Benefield while we get a summary by the director? Why don't we stick a pin in that one? And, because it looks like our earlier applicant has shown, so hopefully we can get somebody here before we finish.
I sure hope so, because he was excited about doing this, and
Roman numeral 5, and we can always stay, if y'all get a hold of him and he's, because Brian lives on St. Maurice Lane, just over there, if we need to recess for 10 minutes while he gets here, I assume the commission would rather do that than bring it up next month. Is that a fair comment?
good.
But hopefully, Ms. Oaks, if you can go, try to get a hold of Mr. Benefield, if you have a contact for him, tell him we're pushing him to the back and he needs to put a wiggle in it and get down here. If you have a note, if you have an application, cell phone number on it. Roman numeral 5, new business, subsection F, the application by Mr. Brandon Thornton to subdivide the following lots 1 of Shadow Bay subdivision unit number 2 to reapportion the lot lines bearing municipal address 201 Peninsula Drive, exhibit number 6, Councilperson District number 4 in the Commissioner's packets. Summary by Ms. Rock, our director.
okay, so Mr. Brandon is just reapportioning his lot lines. He's reapportioning them to have more access to the river, if I'm not understanding that correct, Mr. Brandon?
So like,
Sibley Lake.
Sibley Lake.
And
the weird thing about it is it's the line of demarcation between two subdivisions.
Correct.
So that's the weird thing.
right, and the actual driving force behind the application was not the lake access in the beginning. It was that the original subdivision line cut over very, very near to where my driveway is. And Mr. Buckley, my neighbor who's agreed to sell me the property, he didn't like mowing what feels like my backyard anyway. And so he proposed that we just swing the line over to straighten it up, and that was the result.
Is that to your understanding, Ms. Rock?
Yes.
All right. Is there anything else you need to add, Mr. Thornton, to that? I think it's fairly straightforward.
Right.
Anybody here in opposition to the application of Thornton? All right, discussion by commission members.
Motion to approve.
Motion.
I'll
by
second.
Mr. Lewis, second by Ms. DuBois. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Once again, Mr. Thornton, that's subject to the 10-day appeal. Get the final plat. My suggestion would be get it to her for that Tuesday meeting, so when she has all those folks there, she can get everybody to sign but you and me. And since my office is right behind here, we can take care of it. All right, Roman numeral 5, new business subsection G, the application by Mr. William Weeks to subdivide the following 11.539 acres, being a tract numbered 4, containing 12.295 acres in section 83, township 9 north, range 7 west, Natchitoches Parish, Louisiana. Well, that's 0.756 acres to Mr. Bobby D. Armour Jr. It's shown on map slide 516B of the records of Natchitoches Parish, Louisiana. The reason is to reapportion the lot lines of the property bearing municipal address 4500 University Parkway, exhibit number 7 in Commissioner's packet, councilperson district number 3. If Mr. Weeks or his designee would come forward, we would hear you as we get a summary by the director.
All right, so what they're proposing, Mr. Weeks. Say that again?
There's no representation.
Okay.
Go ahead and give us a summary, and we'll do likewise. If you, Ms. Oakes, you can try to call, and we'll go to the first one we deferred. Hopefully, Mr. Benefield will show up, and then hopefully, if he can just call in. Do we have the ability for him to call in, or is it only Zoom in?
But we did use cell phone.
All right, we'll just find out what we can do and see if we can accommodate him. Because I know Mr. Weeks doesn't live anywhere close. So if we can do it by cell phone, if the commissioners are acceptable, it's kind of looks to me like a vanilla deal, so.
Right, Mr. Weeks is proposing to buy off the whole 11 acres of land, and he's gonna retain the 5.7 acres for himself. I'm not sure what his purposes are for that land, but he's gonna pay off the church, and he's gonna retain 5.77 acres for his use.
Well, we'll try to accommodate him any way we can. So let's go back to Roman numeral 5, subsection B, the application by Ms. Shalonda Calvin. Ms. Calvin, if you're present, you or your designee, please come forward. We read your application earlier. Let's get the summary again from the director while she makes it up here.
All right, so again, this is the property on the corner of Williams and Kaiser's, the old Centennial Building. They also used to have the little nutrition shake place there. We asked them to come and submit an application for BA zoning because the whole parcel of land does not have that specific zoning. In order for them to be able to sell daiquiris or wine or any type of alcoholic content, they have to have BA zoning.
All right. Ms. Calvin, we had actually taken your application up earlier and had it read, deferred it until you could get here. But you heard the summary by the director, what you want to do with this application, which is limited essentially to the footprint of the old Exchange Bank, but to have it rezoned for an additional zoning of BA, which would allow you to serve beverages of high and low alcoholic content on the premises. Is that what you intend, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there any questions for Ms. Calvin by commission members?
Right now, it's a sit-in restaurant.
It's nothing, I
Yes,
think.
it will be.
I think it's
It will be.
nothing
It's
right
not
now.
open yet,
Right
but it
now,
will
you're
be.
not open, is that correct?
It's not open.
No, it was like a protein shake play. It went from the Exchange Bank to a wireless, I think Centennial Wireless, laid fallow for a while. Then was a protein shake place, for lack of a better term. And then it's been fallow for 6, 8 months, if not longer.
Something
How long
like
has
that.
it been not operating over there, Ms. Calvin, do you know? It's been a good, it's been a
It's been
minute.
long,
Yeah.
probably about a year or so.
And so what you intend to do is open it
As
and
a
do
restaurant.
both, all this stuff at one time. It's not open now, is that correct?
It's not open.
And so, for Mr. Lewis, you plan to serve wings and other quick
Yeah.
things there.
Wings and, like lunch specials. And like she said, different.
And you don't really intend for this alcohol to be a whole bunch of your
No, I
revenue,
think,
you just want to have the ability
daiquiris
to do.
and wine and beer.
Fair enough. Questions for Ms. Calvin by commission members? Opposition to the application by Calvin? Hearing none, discussion, or what's the commission's pleasure?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Claiborne, second by DuBois. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, Ms. Calvin, you got a rezone tonight from us, and that has to go before the city council. It should be heard on January the 24th, right here at 5 o'clock. It's introduced on January the 10th. It's introduced. They're not supposed to have any discussion on January the 10th. But inevitably, somebody occasionally will show up and say, I can't be here on the 24th, I want to talk today. My suggestion is that you or someone else on your behalf show up on the 10th, just in case somebody shows up and wants to talk out of turn. Because most likely, if they got a good story, the city council, they got to be in Detroit, Los Angeles, Miami to see family on the 24th, they'll go in and listen to them. I'd show up. If that comes up, tell them what you're doing. If not, I'd be quiet and leave. But take your own counsel on that.
Okay,
Thank you, Ms. Calvin.
thank you.
All right, so we're left with Benefield and Weeks. Where are we, Ms. Oaks, on that?
I haven't had a chance, I don't have a phone with me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, do y'all want to take a 10-minute recess to see if we can get a hold of these folks?
That'll be fine.
All right, can I have a motion for a 10-minute recess?
Make the motion.
Motion by Lewis, and a second by Claiborne. We'll take a 10-minute recess. Mr. Swallow, we'll visit with you during this recess. So we're back in session. Roman numeral 5, new business, subsection E, the application by Mr. Brian Benefield Sr. to subdivide the following 2.68 acres being tracts A and C of the subdivision of a portion of Lot 5 of the St. Maurice Plantation, north by St. Maurice Lane, east by Downey, south by Bayou, west by Boydston, shown on map slide 539B of the records of Natchitoches Parish, Louisiana, less a lot to Leach, less tract B containing 0.282 acres to Daniel F. Montgomery and wife, shown as a re-subdivision of tract A of a portion of Lot 5 of the St. Maurice Plantation, shown on a plat of survey by Mr. Robert Davis, dated January 21, 2021. The reason is to subdivide the tract into two separate lots bearing municipal address 719 St. Maurice Lane, councilperson district number 5, exhibit number 5, councilperson district number 1. Summary by the application by the director.
So this is a tract of land that Mr. Benefield is going to subdivide into two separate tracts, with tract A being .211 acres and the remaining tract of 2.47 acres he will be given to his son.
All right. Mr. Benefield, did you hear the summary by the director of your application?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have anything you want to add to that? It seems fairly straightforward.
Do you have anything to add, Mr. Benefield?
I do not.
All right. Madam Director, as I look at the plat, it appears to be non-compliant in the fact that the tract A2 does not front on a public way. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. I do show that the plat shows a 20-foot right of passage, but that does not comply with our R1 requirements. Is that correct?
No, it does not.
All right. There's no one else here, Mr. Benefield, to talk on this application, so I'm assuming nobody opposes it. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
Okay, well, so there's nobody here to oppose it, so we just need to try to figure out how to make this work. Is there any opposition to the theoretical basis of Mr. Benefield's application to cut out 2.11 acres on the front and give his son essentially 2.5 acres in the back, if we can figure out a way to make it conform? Does anybody have? Okay, so does the director have I have a comment that I think if they just incorporate that 20-foot wide right of passage into lot A2, I think we'll still have a compliant lot on A1, Mr. Benefield's property, Mr. Benefield Sr.'s property. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so that would still make it compliant that A2 would then front on St. Maurice.
Right.
Do you understand what we're saying, Brian?
Yeah, you talking about the road I made from St. Maurice Lane back to the 2.5 acres?
Right. It just may have to be included in your son's description, and you might need a right to use it as well. But it makes his property front on St. Maurice, which is a requirement under our subdivision ordinance.
I got you. Yeah, okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Right.
I gotta get Davis to do that or what?
We've known each other a long time. I didn't think that'd be a problem. So let's, what does the commission want to do? Approve this based on a amended plat showing that 20-foot passage into lot A2?
Yes.
Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, I'd like a motion to
I'll make a
amend
motion.
the application to let me sign the plat if we're presented with a revised plat showing the 20-foot right of passage added to A2.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Mr. Lewis is going to amend the motion. Second by Mr. Lewis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. All right, so that passes. Brian, if you want me to, I'll call Robert tomorrow and tell him what we need to make this thing work. Is that okay?
That would be great, Charles, if you do that.
I've got to talk to him about something else, so I'll get him to do that. And we've probably been talking longer than it'll take him to make those changes.
Okay,
And
sounds great.
it'll be final in 11 days, Brian. So what'll happen is we'll get that plat. I'll get it to Ms. Rock. She'll get it all signed next Tuesday. My signature and your signature will be lacking. And in 11 days, which is probably about next Friday, you'll need to come by and pick it up, record it with David Stamey, and bring her a certified copy. Did you get that?
Okay. The only thing I didn't catch is when do I need to go? I guess you said it's gonna get to David, or I need to go?
Wait, next Friday, I think, the time period will expire next Friday for an appeal. And so you go by Miss Rock's office, pick it up, and bring it over to David Stamey, record it, bring her a copy back, and you'll be good to go.
Okay, all right.
All right, Brian, thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank y'all, I appreciate it.
All
You're
right,
welcome.
bye-bye. All right, so what is the director's pleasure about,
Mr. Weeks?
yes?
Mr. Weeks, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, we have him on the phone now.
All right, Billy, this is Charlie Whitehead III. We've read your application, but I'm gonna read it again. The application by Mr. William Weeks to subdivide the following 11.539 acres.
We're in the city chamber, city council chambers, right next door to City Hall.
If they say I'm here at the store, I could run down there, but I don't know if I need to. If I need to, I can. I didn't know it was tonight, or I would have been there.
Well, Billy, you're just down, I think, there's nobody here in opposition, so I think if the commission's pleasure is to take it up by telephone, is that good for everybody?
Yeah.
Is there any, nobody's opposed to taking it up by telephone, Billy?
That's great, okay.
All right, so the application is by Mr. William Weeks to subdivide the following 11.539 acres, being a tract number 4 containing 12.295 acres in section 83, township 9 north, range 7 west, less 0.56 acres to Bobby D. Armour Jr., as shown on map slide 516 of the records of Natchitoches Parish, Louisiana, to subdivide or reapportion the lot lines at 4500 University Parkway, exhibit number 7, councilperson district number 3. Before we called you, Billy, she went over the plat and essentially said the tract 4A, which is the church, 6.94 acres, is going to be one tract, and then the other tract's going to be the southern tract, 4B, 5.77 acres. Essentially, you're going to pay off the church, they're going to get 4A, and you're going to retain 4B. Is that correct?
I really didn't catch every bit of that, but I think I caught part of it. What I did, I just purchased that tract of land. I paid off the mortgage on the church, and what was the other question?
Well, the church is going to end up with that 6.94 acre tract to the north, which is where the church is, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're going to end up with tract 4B, which is approximately 5.77 acres.
That's correct, that's correct.
All right? And you realize this is just a re-subdivision, this is not a rezoning. If you want to do something that's not allowed, you have to come back for rezoning.
I'm sure that's correct, because I really have no intention of doing anything with it.
I understand. It's an investment, as I imagine, correct?
Well, if you want to look at it from an investment, it would be a poor investment, but it was a good thing to do.
I understand.
So,
I understand. Any questions for Mr. Weeks from commission members?
No.
All right. What's the commission's pleasure since we have no opposition?
I move we approve.
Motion by DuBois to approve, second by Claiborne. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. All right, Mr. Weeks, that passes. What will happen is Ms. Rock will get everything signed next Tuesday. So Friday, which is, about the 15th, you'll need to come by the planning and zoning office, pick up the final plat, record it with Mr. Stamey at the clerk's office, and bring her a copy, and it'll all be final if nobody files an appeal, which I can't imagine they would.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Weeks, thank you so much.
And you say that's about the 15th, pick it up the 15th at the planning.
Whatever next Friday is, I don't have that right in front of me, but whatever.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Billy.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Roman numeral 6, report of office activities.
Right now, there are no office activities to report.
Thank you, ma'am. Reverend Claiborne, you're in the spot.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second by Lewis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Too late.